Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, now here I am with another Winnie the Pooh movie review. And now here I am with a review for Piglet's Big Movie. So like I told you in my last review when I reviewed the Tigger movie, uh, I was like 6 years old when that film came out, so yeah, that was kind of like around the time where like I was like outgrowing really the age range to really like be of Winnie the Pooh. So yeah, like after I saw that film, like that was kind of like when I really was not really like keeping up with Winnie the Pooh films really much. Like I really wasn't like watching Winnie the Pooh films like continuously as they were coming out at that point. So yeah, yeah. So both and yeah, by the time that this film came out, I was like 9 years old. So yeah, this was around the time where I was like kind of old to really be watching like Winnie the Pooh films. So yeah, I didn't really like see this film in theater, and yeah, I really had never actually seen this film before. So yeah, I I really didn't know what to expect with this film. I mean, now by the title of the film, Piglet's Big Movie, I like knew that like. And by that, like just like how the Tigger movie was really focused on Tigger, I knew that this film really was going to focus on Piglet. But I really like didn't know really what to expect with this film. I really didn't know like what it really was going to be about or like what the premise of this film really was. I mean, I guess I was like kind of expecting like this kind of like to have it have a similar premise as the Tigger movie, just have it be like kind of a story or where it's like just really focusing on Piglet, and I figured like it could be something like with Piglet kind of like just overcoming the fact that he's so small. Because yeah, if you watch the if you know Winnie the Pooh, you know that a piglet, he's really like kind of a really timid one, and just like since he's such a really small animal and he's just really not too brave. Hey, so yeah, I had a feeling that maybe like the film was gonna be about a situation with and like that with Piglet, and and so yeah, I finally did give this film a watch, and yeah, that is kind of what this film did, but really didn't tell in the same style that the Tigger movie did. With this film, this is really like about it really is just like containing really like an anthology of like different stories to show like how Piglet really has helped his friends before. Or because yeah, really just the premise of this film really is that Piglet just ends up like going missing after he just is like feeling just really upset that really like his friends really are not really paying attention to him, and they're just feel like he's just feeling like ignored and unappreciated by his friends, since Pooh, Tigger, Rabbit, and Eeyore were like working on a plan and to get honey, and they didn't include Piglet on it, and Piglet had actually helped them like complete their plan, but yeah, Piglet didn't receive any recognition because they really just didn't like no Piglet really had helped them. So yeah, that's really just like, and that really just like made Piglet just feel like unappreciated and stuff. And then that's just when a Piglet just ended up like just like basically wandering off and wasn't anywhere to be found by the others. And so yeah, and then like Pooh, Piglet, I mean not Piglet, Pooh, Tigger, Rabbit, and Eeyore, and along with Kangaroo, they eventually do discover that Piglet was gone, and so then, yeah, they like saw that Piglet did have a scrapbook of like certain memories he's in it, which was kind of like just really about like how Piglet has really helped friends in the past before, and so yeah, that's really just what the premise of this film really is. It's just like as Pooh and the others are like just looking for Piglet. They're like looking in Piglet's like scrapbook book of memories of that, and it just like is telling like I think like three different stories about how Piglet has really like been a help to his friends in the past. And so yeah, and then eventually like in the end like Piglet ends up like returning, and yeah, then it's like showing how much of a help that Piglet really is and stuff. And yeah, Piglet then gets like recognition at the end and appreciation and all that. So yeah, it is a relatively simple story, and in fact, like with the way that this film goes, it really does make you make it feel like it is like just a it really just does make it kind of feel like it's just a direct-to-video film. But no, it was released theatrically, and yeah, it's kind of surprising that with like this type of story and like just how this film goes, they really didn't make it theatrical, because it really just like, since it really is just like basically the anthology of stories, it just is like kind of like a way that a lot of like Winnie the Pooh feature direct-to-video films were like that. A Winnie the Pooh Seasons of Giving film, that was really just like an anthology of stories. Stories pretty much, but yeah, with here, like, Walt Disney Anthology of Stories, it still does have, like, a main premise to it, and yeah, it just is really just, like, telling those stories as the film progresses, so, um, yeah, it does really, like, tell this, type of, like, this Anthology of Stories thing. It does, like, give it, like, a main premise to it as well, so, yeah, and something that I found interesting about this film was just, like, as with all the stories and stuff and the premises that this film is telling, it just is like giving like a lot of like references and stuff, and just like it's just like making like reliving like a bunch of other like Winnie the Pooh films and TV shows, like by this thing where Piglet is just feeling unappreciative and stuff, and like how he really is like just really small, and he just feels like his friends aren't taking him seriously, and even like as they're like looking through the stories of Piglet and how he has been helped, it did kind of like remind me of that episode of The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. You know that episode where Piglet is just like so upset that he's so small, and then like to make him feel better, like Pooh, Tigger, and Rabbit like trying to make Piglet think that he's bigger and stuff. Yeah, that's kind of like, and then like in the end, like it shows that even though like Piglet really is small, he still has like a really big heart and stuff, and is a real big friend. That is kind of like how I felt that this felt about like how this film was going. Like it did kind of like show that, oh, like how Piglet can really be a big help and stuff, and how a big friend he is, even though, oh, he is a really small animal. So I do like that. And one of the stories in this film, it's just like is about like when a kangaroo first moved into the 100-acre wood, and uh, like one day meet when Pooh and the others meet a kangaroo, they who at one point like they like are trying to get Kangaroo to leave the 100-acre wood, and they come up with a plan to like kidnap Roo and swap Roo with a Piglet and stuff. And yeah, and like of course like Kanga knew that it wasn't Roo and it was Piglet, and but yet she still was like acting as if Piglet was Roo, and that was kind of like they did that like this was kind of like redone from like another episode of The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I remember like there was an episode of The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh where they swapped Roo with Piglet for something. I really don't know, forgot what it was, but yeah, it was like yeah, Piglet was posing as Roo, and even like they came up with the same kind of idea in this film with like this story in the same way they did with that episode. So I thought it was interesting they did that. And another or type of story they had in this was just like there's this story where like a Roo ends up like falling into a river, like as like a Pooh and Christopher Robin and like the others are like in a search for the North Pole, as they well, like at one point like Roo ends up like falling into a river, and like they try to save Roo, and eventually like Piglet ends up like coming up with a plan to save Roo, and it kind of got me thinking of like that on another episode of The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I remember it was like an episode where Piglet couldn't ice skate or something, and he was eventually taught how. And at one point, like Pooh and the others like ended up like being caught on broken ice, and Piglet like was trying to save them as well. So yeah, it was kind of like interesting that they kind of like did that kind of like differently with this film too in this story. Oh yeah, and yeah, another her and then yeah, the third like story that they look at in Piglet's scrapbook is like one where Eeyore doesn't really have a home, and so then and Pooh, Piglet, and Tigger are like trying to make Eeyore a new home, and then yeah, they like end up like referring to like the place that they built Eeyore's home in a place called Pooh Corner, which got, and they even like called this uh Eeyore's house, the house at Pooh Corner, which is kind of like a reference to like that song House at Pooh Corner. I don't know how many of you have actually heard that song, but yeah, there was a song House at Pooh Corner, and even like with the name Pooh Corner, it's like the room that like was it from the 80s they had like that Welcome to Pooh Corner show, which you remember I talked about back when I was giving my thoughts on the Christopher Robin trailer. So yeah, and they had like some other like past Winnie the Pooh references throughout this film as well. So I just think it's interesting that they're like referencing like other Winnie the Pooh projects that came before this film. So yeah, I did like that about this film, and yeah, basically just yeah, this just is just like showing that how much of a friend Piglet really is to the others, and yeah, that's really just like what this film is really just showing throughout. How so yeah, it's a relatively simple story, but I mean it is like story is like told really well, and it just really yeah, it just really does a good job really showing that despite how small Piglet is, he really is a really big friend to the others. Did you guys hear that? Gosh, we got another storm coming, happening right now. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can hear that thunder right now. Gosh. Yeah, so, yeah, it is a good film, I would say. I mean, yeah, it's not really the greatest Winnie the Pooh film ever, but it's like Pooh's Great Adventure and the Tigger movie. I mean, they're just, yeah, they're good films for kids to watch. I mean, if you're Winnie the Pooh, and especially, like, if you are a fan of Piglet, I think you'll like this film just fine. So, yeah, it is a good film. Not a great film, but a good one. I would give it 3 stars out of 4 once again. So, yeah. So I really don't think I really have to talk very much more about this film, because I really basically like covered the whole, pretty much basically covered the concept really, which is just like those, as they're looking for Piglet, there's those 3 stories that they look through in Piglet's scrapbook. So yeah, but yeah, I'll just like kind of just go over the premise a little bit more, just to see how much more in depth I can go. Yeah, so as this film opens up, it shows like a Pooh, Tigger, Rabbit, and Eeyore are just like working on a plan to try to get honey from a beehive, and it shows that a Piglet was wanting to help, but yeah, Pooh and the others just told him that he's too small to really help them, and then yeah, as they like try their plan out, the it just like started to go like a little awry, and then Piglet was like help them out unbeknownst to them, and he ended up like trapping the bees in a decoy hive, and since like none of them knew that Piglet did it, they were just like saying that their plan had worked. And yeah, Piglet just like felt that since like his friends really just were ignoring him and stuff, Piglet just like wandered off sadly, and yeah, and then like eventually like the bees ended up like escaping from the hive, but yeah, Pooh and the others were able to escape from the bees, and then after they saw Piglet was missing, they then went on a search for him, and then they found the scrapbook that Piglet had that contained like photos of like their past adventures, and they were just like looking at it as a map. And yeah, that was another reference, like kind of like using it kind of as a map to Piglet, similar to how in Pooh's Great Adventure they were using the map to try to find Christopher Robin. So yeah, I did. That's another reference that they had. Yeah. And as they were heading to Kanga's house, they were reminiscing about Kanga and Roo arriving in the 100 Acre Wood. And yeah, we had that story, which I was already talking about before, and how they thought Kanga and Roo were like just like planning to eat them or something. And then yeah, Rabbit made a plan then to just like kidnap Roo and swap him with Piglet, and then just like offer to return Roo in exchange for Kanga and Roo to leave the 100 Acre Wood and stuff. And then yeah, throughout time they discovered that Kanga and Roo were nice, and then yeah, they then agreed to let them stay eventually. Yeah. And then, yeah, once they got to, and yeah, back in the present, as they were like, then got to Kangaroo's house, they told the Kangaroo that Piglet was missing, and Roo joined them on their journey. And then, yeah, they then, like, in the scrapbook, they then had, like, that North Pole story. And then, yeah, I've already talked about this, how Christopher Robin, and, like, along with Pooh, Tigger, and the others, were then on an expedition to find the North Pole. Well, and then eventually, like, they came to a river, and then, yeah, Roo ended up falling in it, and yeah, they were all trying to get Roo out, and eventually, like, Piglet came up with a plan to save Roo with a really, with a really long stick to catapult Roo out, and yeah, they then eventually did catch Roo, and then, yeah, once Pooh, like, was holding the stick, and then like it just declared that Pooh discovered the North Pole. They just discovered that long stick is the North Pole. Well, and then it just showed like a Piglet's role in the whole thing was just like unacknowledged and stuff. Yeah. And then once it transitioned out of that story, then like it just showed like the Pooh and the others were just like expressing regrets for not really celebrating the heroism Piglet showed in that situation. Yeah, and then as a storm was starting to roll in like Eeyore and Pooh were then just as like the others were like starting to really become even more worried about Piglet, and Eeyore and Pooh were then just telling Roo about the time Piglet ended up building the house for Eeyore, and so yeah, I already went over this story. Or how Eeyore didn't have a house, and then Pooh and Piglet decided to build Eeyore a house on that spot they named Pooh Corner, and then and yeah, Tigger eventually like joined in, and they were building the house while Piglet was trying to keep it up, and they eventually like learned after they found Eeyore that Eeyore had built the house himself, or built a house of sticks himself, but it was missing, and then. And yeah, eventually, like, Pooh and Tigger discovered that they were already, like, using Eeyore's old house as his new one. And then it showed that eventually, like, Piglet ended up arriving, and then, yeah, he led them back to Eeyore's completed house. The thunder is crazy right now. Yeah, and then, yeah, Piglet's contributions to building Eeyore's house was, like, overlooked once again. But then it was, like, showing that the wind was, like, getting the credit for moving Eeyore's house, so, yeah. And then back in the present, like, as the rain was starting to fall, like, Tigger was wanting to skip to the end of the book just to finally figure out where Piglet really is, but Rabbit just, like, was insistent that they need to read in order, and as they were fighting over the book, it eventually, like, ended up, like, falling into the river, and they lost it. And then it showed, like, Roo was, like, starting to catch a cold, so, yeah, all the friends then just ended up, like, just returning to Piglet's house to stop Roo from catching one. And then, over time, like, as they were in Piglet's house, they were then just drawing new pictures of Piglet, that was just, like, looking at him as a hero, and just, like, setting out to find him, and as they were looking for Piglet, they then, like, just found, like, all the scrapbook bindings that were suspended on a hollow log, and it was overhanging, like, a waterfall, and Pooh was trying to retrieve the scrapbook, but, yeah, Pooh ended up, like, falling through a hole in the log, and it showed like Pooh was hanging by a stick from the log, and yeah, Tigger, Roo, Eeyore, and Rabbit then like were trying to form a rescue rope to save Pooh, but it wasn't like quite long enough, and Pooh was just stuck, like still hanging over the waterfall. But then eventually Piglet then ended up appearing, and was able to make the rope long enough to get Pooh to safety, and then as they all like were able to get a hold of Pooh, the log was then starting to break, and Piglet's scrapbook ended up like falling into the river, and it showed a Rabbit, Eeyore, Tigger, and Roo were all able to make it to the solid ground. But then yeah, half of the log ended up plummeting into the water, and so yeah, at first they thought that Pooh and Piglet had ended up like falling into the water with the broken part of the log. I guess then they were starting to mourn the loss. But then, yeah, it then showed like Pooh and Piglet were emerging from the inside of the other half of the log. And yeah, then they were all celebrating. And yeah, they then took Piglet home and showed him all the drawings that they made. And then they were just like showing all their appreciation for what Piglet has done after like hearing those stories that they read in the scrapbook. And yeah, it then just showed like they were throwing a big party for Piglet, and then Pooh just showed Piglet the sign of Pooh Corner, which Pooh now renamed Pooh and Piglet Corner. And then, yeah, that's how the movie ended. So, yeah, like I said, 3 stars out of 4. I mean, yeah, I think that this really does a good job, really just showing, like, as I've said before, like, even though Piglet is a really small animal and stuff, he still is a really big friend and was a really big help to all of his friends. So, yeah, and it really does, like, good at really just, like, telling you through these 3 stories, and even, like, with the main premise itself. So, yeah, it is a good film, and it does tell this this story pretty well overall. So yeah, like I said, not a great film, but it is worth like worth a watch. I mean, yeah, as I said, like yeah, it just is worth like yeah, the 75 minutes that this film lasts for, it is worth the time, especially like if you are a Piglet fan, you'll get enjoyment out of this. So yeah, it is a good film overall. So yeah, so I guess that's all I really have to say about it. Alright, so yeah, this does it for my review of Piglet's Big Movie. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.